evolution of sound.
Yo, what's up guys? My name's Dominik Dale and I work with Zen's World behind the scenes on evolution of sound. And today I'm going to be showing you guys how to make a similar pluck to Maroon 5's new song, Don't Wanna Know. And it sounds a little bit like this. Okay, so we got our initial preset here. Now, we're going to set our envelopes first because that sculpts a lot of this sound. And without it, when I'm showing you previews along the way, you might get quite confused if I don't show you these first because it won't resemble what the sound sounds like at all.
Step 1, envelopes, yeah!
Okay, so we're going to leave the attack on envelope 1 as is and the hold on 0%. Now, for the decay here, we're going to pull it down to about 750-ish, around 764, that'll do. And the sustain we're going to bring down to minus 33, around that mark. And for a release, we're going to have a really long release time on these chords, at about 489, that's what I've figured out was quite nice, around that mark. So this is what the chord will sound like now. Okay, so now we've got that envelope in, I'm actually going to mute oscillator A because the noise oscillator is what makes this whole sound. And so I found a kalimba sample online. Now I'll include this in the description so that you guys can use it too. But what happens here is the main sound is the kalimba sample and the two oscillators and all the effects that work behind it support the kalimba sample and make it really the sound that it needs to be. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn on the enable the one shot and I'm going to make it pitch tracked, and so I'm going to push the pitch up to 12%, which pushes the sample up an octave. When I turn it on to full level here, you'll hear. So that's a really rough idea of pretty much the basis of this sound, and we're not going to touch anything else here. Got our initial, so now we've got oscillator A there. We're going to change this to basic shapes and we're going to go on to the square wave. This version though, sorry, I think it's a Q-pulse wave, correct me if I'm wrong. And we're going to go digital here and we're going to go icon has kick. Alright, so we're going to pop octave up 1 on the icon has kick oscillator and we're going to pull the level down completely. Now we're going to jump into these envelopes so that everything that I do next actually makes sense. With envelope 2, what we're going to do is we're going to bring the decay down to 31-ish milliseconds. So yeah, just missed it. Okay, and we're going to bring the sustain all the way down, the release all the way down, and the attack all the way down. And what this is going to do, we're going to drag this onto the coarse pitch. And what we're going to do is we're going to press Option Shift, which flicks it to be a one-sided modulation rather than have it for both sides up or down when you're pitching things here. So this will add a nice little click to our synth. And so that is going to be really beneficial shortly. Okay, so envelope 3. Now we're going to set the decay to about 1.3. Sustain, we're going to pull it down to about 25. And release, we're going to push up. We're going to push the release up because this sound is based on the release. So we're going to go to about 450, around there. Awesome. And we're going to curve this down just a little bit more. So we are going to FM modulate from B. And we're going to bring up the FM to about, I think it's 35%. It started working well. And we're going to also put envelope 3 here on the wavetable position of oscillator B. Now this is going to flick the icon has kick oscillator through these phases here, which will create more of like a swingy clicky sound inside this basic shape over here. So we're going to turn this wavetable position up to about 30%. That was a bit high. Cool. Alright, awesome. So now it sounds like this. And you can, if I turn off the noise here, you can really hear what I mean about that spring in it. Okay, cool. So that's everything for the oscillators now. So we're going to move over here to the filter section, and we're going to make sure it's on A and B, and we are going to change it to the miscellaneous one, German low pass. And we're going to use our envelope 3 again onto the cutoff. Now, we're going to bring the initial cutoff to about 146 here. And we're going to bring how far it comes up to about 29%. So now, we're going to turn down the resonance, and we're going to give it just a tiny bit of drive, like 2%. And you'll hear now, we've got more of a pluck sound to this whole song, to this whole synth. Awesome. So we're going to turn down the master, and first things first, we're going to chuck on a distortion. Now we're going to go for the diode 2 distortion, and we're going to put the drive to about 34%, and we're going to bring the mix down to about 14%. We want this to be really, really subtle. Okay, and now we're going to add an EQ. Now, what I need to tell you is that the ordering of these effects really, really does vary the sound produced at the end of the day. So you've really got to follow this pattern, and you can get the exact sound that I've created here. So we're going to have a low cut here, and I'm going to pull the frequency up to 239, around that mark. 238, close enough. We're going to change the Q to about 45%, keep the gain where it is, and over here on the right side of this EQ, what we're going to do is we're going to pop the frequency up to 2041 where it sits. We're going to keep the Q at about 59-60%, and we're going to chuck the gain up 1.7 decibels. So here we'll have a bit more of a push in the high range, and we're cutting out all the muddy low frequencies that we didn't want there to begin with. So now your sound will sound sort of like this. Just a slight difference, but it sounds a lot cleaner. So now we're going to add a delay. Now we're going to turn the feedback down to about 16-ish%, and we're going to take off BPM link. Now what we're doing here is we're having the left channel and the right channel, we're going to have them delay at different amounts of milliseconds, and when this happens, it sounds like someone is playing live, and say it just kind of sounds like you're hitting multiple notes but more at different timings. So it has a lot more realism to it, as if you were to be a bad musician. So we're going to change the BPM off. Yep. And we're going to turn the left ear to about 110 milliseconds. And we're going to put the right ear to about 85 milliseconds. Now here we're just going to pop a little bit of a low and a high cut on this filter, so that the delay is only really in the in the mid range of the sound. And we're going to pop the mix of the delay to about -24. So what we've got here now is a nice little delay on the sound, which if you've got headphones on, you'll be able to definitely hear it play in the left and right ear just after the initial sound plays. Okay. So next thing we gotta do is we're gonna get a chorus. Now what we're gonna do with this chorus here is we're gonna set the rate. Oh, that's not the chorus. We're gonna set the rate very, very low, literally to 0.01%. And we are going to set the first delay to 0.6 milliseconds and the second delay to 0.3 milliseconds. Now we are also gonna put the depth to 12.7, and our feedback we're gonna turn that up to 15%, and we're also gonna turn the low pass filter to maximum and keep the mix at about halfway, about 49%. I think I had it on before. So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna add a compressor. We're gonna use this as a multi-band compressor. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna bring the threshold down to about 17.2. Or as close as you can with 17.1. We're gonna push the ratio up to 8/1. We're gonna leave the we're gonna set the attack to 0 and the release to 306 milliseconds. Now this will catch too long release times that are caused by the multi-band compressor, and it will make it sound a lot cleaner. So always mess with this release knob when you're using the multi-band compressor in Serum. Now we're also going to push the gain up 6.7 decibels. Now we're going to turn down the master because I'm assuming this might clip. Oh. Cool. Alright, awesome. So now we're going to set the hyper. So the hyper, we're going to set the rate to 11%. We're going to set the detune to 8%. Now, we're going to put retrigger on and set the unison to 5 voices. Now, what's also strange is that I'm going to turn up the mix knob. A lot of people wouldn't normally do this, but I found that turning up the mix knob on this to about 70% made the sound a lot more realistic. Like, listen to it before and after. Now, I believe that made a serious difference when I was working on it, so I kept that in there. So, we got dimension, and we're going to set that to 53%. And we're also going to set the mix here to 32%. Alright, awesome. And we're going to add a filter here. And we're going to use the reverb filter purely for some subtle delaying in the background here, as it adds a nice little tone to it. So we're going to change the cutoff to about 35 Hertz here. So about 30%. So it's not 100% audible. So this is the kind of sound that's developed in the background of this synth now. Which is audible once you bring the mix down while it's playing, but it's pretty subtle on its own. Alright, now we're going to add the final effect here, which will be a reverb. And what we've got here is a hall reverb with a size of about 21%. So we're going to have 21%, and we're going to change the decay to 3.4 seconds. We're going to chuck a low cut on there at 19%. And we're also going to chuck a high cut at 43%. Now, the spin, we're chucking on 14% here. And the spin depth, we're going to push down to 6%. And our mix on that reverb is going to be 26%. And there we have it. There is our final sound. So take a listen to this, and hopefully you've enjoyed this video. Take a listen. Also, if you're wondering why I have all these effects at the bottom here, these are just some tips and tricks that you can do to add some depth to this synth. So if you have purchased Serum, you should receive Serum effects. And what I've done here is I've added some distortion to the high end by pushing the drive to only 25% and the mix to about halfway. And doing this will make your synth sound a lot brighter. Now here I've also not touched the mix knob on the hyper here, but on the dimension we've got a low mix level but a high size. So doing this kind of makes it sound like there are more strings or whatever being hit in the synth when it plays back. And this EQ is just doing a very, very slight gain increase here on about 1.2 decibels. Now, this grain delay here, this makes a huge, huge difference. So we've set the spray to 5.98 milliseconds and the frequency to 5.18 Hertz. and the pitch up 12. Now, mixing in the time being in milliseconds to about 25.8 also makes these higher frequencies that are delaying in sound like part of the synth on its own. And we mixed it in at about 25%. So take a listen to this. And I'll take off the grain delay. And I'll bring up a dry wet just so you can hear what I have added. Now here I've also just added an overdrive on the high frequencies. You can take down those parameters there. And we've just added a bit of saturation here. So if you take a listen, that is your overall sound. The way I used to love you, no, don't wanna know. Hey guys, thank you for watching. I really hope you can gain something from this video. I appreciate your time and all the best. My name's Dominik, and I'll see you next time.